Hello everyone, I know this is a bit old, but it's just too precious not to do a reading of. The headline might sound a bit familiar to you. Dear Joss Whedon, social justice warriors don't have to be your audience. SJWs are over. This is by Matthias Holt from the Libertarian Republic. Yes, I'm a libtard. Dear Joss Whedon, hey man, how are you holding up? I know I got into a bit of a trouble recently, and I just wanted to say how sorry I am. I know it must feel absolutely terrible to have all these social justice warriors, you know, the people you've been trying to defend for literally years, decide to up and turn on you. And you know what? I don't question the sincerity with which you try to defend them. The shrieks about censorship and abuse are always easy to dismiss when they don't happen to you. And besides, I know all too well that when you have a political cause, it's easy to tell yourself such and such must have done something to merit a hanging, but not me. They'll never come after me. For those of you who hadn't read the history of the French Revolution, now's a really, really good time. Really good time! Catch up. Really, do it. If anyone had a reason to think that way, Joss, it's you. Anita Sarkeesian practically wrote her master's thesis as a shrine to you. You made a scathing video mocking Mitt Romney back in 2012. Your female characters, Buffy, Faith, Kaylee, Inara, Zoe, and that one chick from Dollhouse get held up as archetypical examples of how to write women all the time. The pantheon of feminist heroines used to be pretty much just a list of characters you wrote until Daenerys Targaryen came along. Every time someone claimed social justice warriors' views were too censorious to create good art, there were always someone who'd point to you and ask, "Are you saying Joss Whedon's work isn't good art?" And you know what, Joss? As someone who was often on the receiving end of the question, I had to admit it was valid. And Joss, your work is good. Even though sometimes your work doesn't pass the Bechdel test, but it's progressive. But now you've been forced off Twitter, and been assailed by a barrage of think pieces claiming your treatment of Black Widow in the New Avengers is sexist, just because you had the gall to give her a feeling of self-loathing over her forced infertility, which of course no one seems to notice that you treat that feeling with nothing but sympathy and go out of your way to make it look unfounded. They're misinterpreting your work for their own slanted ideological purposes, and even Lisa Rosenberg, no right-winger her, says so. Oh, I know you didn't leave Twitter because of the bullshit being flung at you, but frankly, that doesn't even pass the laugh test. Oh, the tests. You need an intervention, Joss. You need to realize this abuse is not about anything you did. That it was never about anything anyone did. This abuse is the product of a toxic ideology that's severely past its prime and now can only find followers among the most pathologically antisocial members of society. Yes, this is very sad. This is tragic. How the revolution turns on its own. Those people will never be appeased because at bottom they don't want to be. And that's actually a pretty important point. The conservocrats never wanted to be satisfied. They need targets. They need to feel like rebels against an oppressive society, and if they have to cannibalize their own to get that moral outrage high, they'll do it. They'll tilt at windmills, and when the windmills are all knocked down, they'll turn their lances to the best friends, and when reality stops giving them things to be upset about, they'll outright manufacture fiction to back up their fight. They'll make fake racist signs, commit fake hate crimes, spread false rape accusations, you name it. Anything to avoid the hard fact that they're miserable because of something wrong with them, not because of some cruel, insidious conspiracy by society. Or we'll describe totalitarianism as boot stomping on the human face forever. Social justice warriors are so terrified of freedom and responsibility that they would stomp on their own faces if they could. That's actually a pretty comic picture. Imagine it. Some dyed-haired, fat feminist in her Doc Martens stomping on her own face. Someone please paint that. Please make it a meme. Joss, I've been a fan of your work since I first encountered Buffy in college. And speaking of college, you know, that's another thing you and I have in common. We both went to Wesleyan University. You know, that school that might as well be described as real-life Tumblr. I thought that was Oberlin College. The place where it's easier to come out as otherkin than to admit you're a registered Republican. Yeah, that's Wesleyan. No, Joss. Unlike you, I didn't have the luxury of hiding my hair-pulling annoyance at the far left back then. I had to fight. But you know, I met plenty of people while I was there who told me, almost longingly, how much they respected what I was doing, even though they found my views repulsive. You could see it in their eyes, how much they were sick of no-toeing to their oversensitive masters, how much they yearned just kick back and think, even if the thinking led them to scary right-wing places, how much they wanted to write their own stories, sing their own songs, make their own art, and the problematic implications be damned. You could almost hear them thinking, oh, if only the right didn't hate women, or gays, or black people, I might even give them a second look. And you know what's scary? One day, you're going to look into the right and find out that they don't hate women, that they don't hate black people. They don't think black people are inferior because they treat black people the same. They don't think women are inferior, they don't hate women because they think women can actually compete with men on a level playing field. Unlike the left and the progressives who think women need a special hand because women just can't cope on their own. Yeah, tell me which side thinks women and blacks are children. Well, Joss, here's a shocker for you. We don't hate them. Oh, sure, some of our members look down on their choices, and I'll freely admit that I don't like how some of these people talk sometimes. But hate? Real, honest-to-goodness hate? Unless you're talking to neo-Nazis or Klan members, neither of whom have any influence on mainstream conservatives or libertarianism, you're not going to find that here. No. When it comes to expressions of white-hot hate, the social justice warriors have us beat by an unconquerable margin, and they aren't even ashamed of it. For them, being told not to hate is tone policing, and you'd better check your privilege, you white, cis, male, dude bro, pig. You don't have to be one of them, Joss. You can denounce them. You can join the so-called dark side and fear nothing. Oh, sure, you might get a couple of upturned noses from the least tolerant people in Hollywood, but you're freaking Joss Whedon, the man who made the Avengers. You don't need to care about that anymore. Excuse me. We can't offer you the kind of fawning press coverage that kowtowing to the rabid left will get you. But we can offer you one thing more precious: creative freedom. We don't care what the implications of your stories are. We don't care how you treat your male or female characters. We don't care how many white or minority characters are in them. We just want good stories. We just want beautiful art. That's it. You want the same thing, Joss. Maybe we're on the same side after all. Think it over. I won't kid myself that you'll necessarily listen, or even read this, but the next time you start spewing social justice platitudes, just know that there's someone out there shaking his head. In fact, to quote one of the superhero franchises that have rivaled your own, just picture me saying this. Don't talk like one of them. You're not, even if you'd like to be. To them, you're just a freak, like me. They need you now, but when they don't, they'll cuss you out like a leper. See, their morals, their code. It's a bad joke to be dropped at the first sign of trouble. They're only as good as the word allows them to be. Joss, speaking on behalf of the right, we're not monsters. We're just ahead of the curve, and you can be too, if you want to be. Think it over and keep it together. I would close this by telling you that after World War II, after America had razed Japan to the ground, and Germany, America dismantled its destroyers, set up military bases, and built Japan from the ground up, and helped build Germany from the ground up. It took former enemies and turned them into allies. I think treating Joss Whedon the same, and I know many people don't agree with this, but I think that this is an opportunity to embrace Joss Whedon and accept him into a space where he would be accepted for the merit of his work and not for his opinions. We could make a really good friend and ally here. Thank you for listening and watching. This has been Fear Media.